Well, good morning. The next big development in this story could come a little later this week. That is when former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is expected to release some of her findings in her investigation into the village's finances.
Facing an uprising at home, Tiffany Henyard went on the road. It was a public relations tour meant to combat her critics. It wound up raising more questions than it answered.
Overall, Tiffany Henyard comes across as rather conceited and doesn't seem to give a damn as long as she's making money. However, the Doughton and Thornton trustees are fed up with her antics and will not let her get away with them. With tense board meetings scheduled, they have vowed to uncover her secrets and put her away for good. So for some time now, Tiffany Henyard has been under fire, and it appears that things have finally gotten out of hand. Trustees have accused her of mismanaging village funds, and residents are outraged. In response, Tiffany has accused M of harassing her and playing political games. It's a mess, and we're here to explain it all to you.
Dalton's embattled mayor and the board of trustees.
Trustees say the village is facing financial disaster, and they blame the mayor for mismanagement. She says this is all just political retribution. WGN's Eric Wrong live in Dalton for us this morning. Eric.
Well, good morning. The next big development in this story could come a little later this week. That is when former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is expected to release some of her findings in her investigation into the village's finances. For months, it's been anything but business as usual at Dalton's village meetings.
People around you that wants what's best for the people, not what's best for Tiffany.
People need, and watching as this village being ran into the ground.
The fight over the village's finances continues to be at the center of this tug-of-war between Dalton's mayor and several trustees. They accuse her of overspending and mismanaging the village's money, while she and her allies accuse them of playing political games.
This village is bleeding. If these residents knew the truth, they'd hit the roof. This is targeted.
Furthermore, the village's residents want her to sell the expensive SUVs she has been using for her security detail because they are costing the village far more than it can afford. They are also tired of Henyard sticking her nose in her nose and accusing the villagers of being harassed and playing political games. Keith Freeman, a township, is another piece in this puzzle. Employee who has been called a whistleblower. Residents want him to remain at work, but Henyard claims she fired him. The specifics are unclear, but it's evident that Freeman is receiving support from those who view him as a key figure in exposing the corruption. Henyard, on the other hand, is trying to distance herself from Freeman, which raises concerns
that has a police sign on it but was never converted. They also discussed unloading Henyard's 4 SUVs used for her security detail.
We've spent almost $250,000 on these vehicles. If we keep the lease for the 5 years, which is 60 months, we would be spending $718,000. Most of them was signed without proper authority anyway.
You throw a lot of things up here that don't be true.
It's simple counting, baby.
Another issue board members are trying to square is the employment status of Henyard's former top aide, Keith Freeman, who is now charged with bankruptcy fraud. Henyard fired him from the Thornton Township, the other board she runs, but Dalton trustees consider him a whistleblower, and firing him, they believe, would set the village up for a lawsuit it can't afford. Henyard made it clear where she stands.
Keith Freeman is fired from the village of Dalton.
Money is one of the trustees' main issues. The township has been losing Oftish, and many people are blaming the Henyard trustees for it. The trustees have been very outspoken about this. Henyard has been embezzling money using what they refer to as a shell game. That's correct, a shell game, and it's really just a fancy way of saying that she's been moving money around in ways that don't add up.
Tiffany Henyard is finding a way to spend money that trustees say they intentionally did not approve, one describing it to me tonight as a shell game.
Is there a motion to approve the Gospel Fest?
Motion failed.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the House Fest?
The Thornton Township supervisor has repeatedly denied the events. Under a law intended to rein down spending, Tiffany Henyard
Just love the events that we do here at Thornton Township. And prior to me, y'all have always had events. So I don't understand why it's a problem now that Tiffany Henyard.
The D claims they won't approve the activities due to the budget hasn't been authorized yet.
Can't continue to spend money without that in place.
Rapper Jay Holiday earned $20,000 for a half-hour set when you factor in staff equipment and other fees. This is the most recent cost that has raised concerns at the Howard's Taste of Thorne Township last month. WGN investigated and discovered records that reveal singer Kiki Wyatt was paid $30,000 to sing for 30 minutes. The complete price is at least $85,000, which is less than what WGN's investigation initially revealed, but still raises concerns. The trustees even decided not to allow thousands of dollars for some of Henyard's events. But guess what? She had already spent that much money. After all, who needs permission when you're Tiffany Henyard? Trustees' decision to reject sponsor Taste of Thornton's thousands of dollars in expenses funds that have already been allocated to other Henry events.
Done on credit cards. We just don't agree with so much being put on credit cards. And then also recently it looks like even stuff that we voted not to pay then was put onto credit cards. So it's just kind of almost like a shell game, unfortunately.
But they don't have unanimous support from residents.
Since there isn't a budget passed, that maybe they should do the same for their salary. Suspend the salary until they pass a budget.
That budget could be coming soon. Trustees say it's under review by an accountant now. They also voted once again to put Henyard's name on a credit card despite her protest.
Speaking of taxpayer-funded parties, let's talk about Tiffany's, which, get ready, cost the villager an astonishing $85,000. It seems that Kiki Wyatt only appeared and performed for 30 minutes at the lavish gala that taxpayers paid for. In addition, it was your typical midday kids event with food vendors. It wasn't exactly a blowout worthy of the price tag. Jay Holiday, the rapper, earned $30,000 for his appearance, and he pocketed $220,000 for a second half-hour set.
The self-proclaimed super mayor is also apparently a super fan. She flew in nationally known R&B singer Kiki Wyatt to headline the Taste of Thornton Township last month. There were other performers plus daytime events for kids, but given the fury over Tiffany Henyard's spending, we were curious what the event cost. WGN Investigates obtained the bills through open records laws. They show Kiki Wyatt was paid $30,000 for a 30-minute performance. Rapper Jay Holiday made $20,000 for a half-hour set. Other costs, including comedians, bounce houses, staff, and equipment, add $35,000, meaning this single-day event cost South suburban taxpayers more than $85,000.
I was flabbergasted. I was pissed off. That's my money.
The worst part, though, is this. Only about 65 to 70 individuals attended this lavish celebration, according to the trustees, so even with all that money invested, it was a complete bust. Yes, people, an $85,000 taxpayer-funded party, attended by fewer than 70 people, is quite the waste.
A flop. It might have been approximately 65 to 70 people there.
We out here at Taste of Thornton. Yeah, keep raining, but it's still going on. Right now they got the comedians up there.
To be clear, Henyard's predecessor also threw a Taste of Thornton Township event, but not on this scale.
But see, this is all for the babies. This is what they don't show you. They don't show you this side of Tiffany Henyard. The productivity.
She like to use our tax dollars to promote herself. She have all of these events trying to buy the voters.
After a year's worth of WGN Investigates reporting, detailing first-class travel, meals, and more that's now sparked a federal investigation, trustees in the two governments run by Henyard have tried to stop the spending. Even her former assistant, who's now a township trustee, recently said enough is enough.
I trusted the administration. I trusted the process. And the moment I didn't trust the process...
Certain trustees firmly think that Henyard is a narcissist, and it appears that they are correct. Henyard is demonstrating to her how her corruption is finally catching up with her and how she is about to fall genuine colors, and the trustees are correct based on what we have observed thus far. It's clear that Henyard feels pressured because she has been acting defensively.
The habit of claiming to be the boss in one moment, but denying responsibility in others. It recently sparked this reaction.
I do not own a credit card. I do not deal with money. I don't deal with anything.
Tiffany is a narcissist, and she is going to do what she wants to do. I feel like she knows that this is over, but she's going to go down kicking and screaming like an MMA fighter. She's just not going to stop until they put cuffs on her.
Most of the contracts for this event were signed before township trustees put spending controls in place. So it's possible the concert and other activities were something of a last hurrah for Tiffany Henyard, at least as far as parties go. The federal investigation continues. Even if she's charged, that won't expel her from office. It would take a conviction to do that, but voters will have their say when she's on the ballot next spring.
Speaking of letting it all hang out, Tiffany has been hollering back and forth at township meetings with the trustees. Blaming them of throwing a smear campaign against her would make you think that with all the evidence against her, she would calm down a little, but instead, she is intensifying the drama.
Tonight, community concerns in Thornton Township and a push to regulate what some call out-of-control spending by Township Supervisor and Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. NBC5's Lexi Suter has more on tonight's showdown between trustees and Henyard.
Good evening. There were many tense moments in tonight's meeting. At times, Supervisor Tiffany Henyard took on her fellow trustees when it came to money and expenses, even accusing some of them of spreading lies about her.
Please tell me how you're out of order. You're out of order. How do they operate, trustees? How do they operate?
There were countless interactions just like this, elevated voices and heated debates about spending and the lack of a new budget. Several of the trustees questioned much of the township's spending, while Henyard says she's cleaned its finances up.
Y'all thought that I was young, dumb, didn't know nothing, was gonna let y'all come and manipulate me. I didn't do any of that. So because I didn't do any of
Tiffany became upset and went on a lengthy tirade, accusing the township trustees of harboring hatred in their hearts after they had voted to cancel some of her scheduled events. While the trustees were voting against her personally, not the events, because obviously everything is about Tiffany, she stated that the trustees were against her for not wanting to fund her opulent gatherings.
At one point in this 3-hour meeting, Supervisor Henyard demanded Finance Director Robert Hunt read through more than 100 line items that many trustees wanted to get rid of. For example, thousands of dollars to Amazon.
$169.99.
Thousands of dollars of cakes for community events.
102 Calumet Bakery.
And tens of thousands of dollars that were allegedly allocated for the one-day event, the Taste of Thornton Township.
We just had a couple events here in the past, month or so, that just extraordinary amount of money was spent unnecessarily.
As for upcoming events, the trustees voted to stop a few, including House Fest and Gospel Fest. Henyard accused the trustees of acting out of spite.
And right now, you guys are operating with hatred in your hearts. You're operating out of feelings. You're not operating with things that's going on, and I don't think that's fair to us. And I don't understand why it's a problem when we got a surplus in Thornton Township thanks to Supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
Things get even more juicy at this point. Tiffany says she has truly improved the township's financial situation, but everyone can see through her bold claims. In addition, Tiffany accuses the trustees of being against her, claiming that none of the supervisor's events were canceled. But she's deliberately ignoring the fact that her events have been nothing more than failures despite spending more money and being more extravagant than those of any of her predecessors.
Another contentious meeting involving Tiffany Henyard.
Tonight, it involves her role as Thornton Township Supervisor. The Board of Trustees voting to cancel upcoming township events. Despite Henyard's vote in favor of Gospel Fest, House Fest, Bingo, all failed to pass. The tech-savvy event failed at first, but trustees then approved it with a limited budget. Henyard telling the board their votes were not about the community, but about her.
Because them residents love the events that we do here at Thornton Township. And prior to me, y'all have always had events. So I don't understand why it's a problem now that Tiffany Henyard is the supervisor when it wasn't a problem when Frank Zuccarelli was the supervisor.
Now, in her supervisory report, Henyard says she turned the township's financial situation around, claiming it had multi-million-dollar deficits in 2022 when she arrived. Now the township has a surplus totaling $9.7 million.
At one point, things became so heated on a township board that Tiffany and her security guard had to calm down a rowdy audience. You can almost sense the tension in the air when watching these clips because the folks are finished with her. Angry.
We're on the cusp of celebrating Juneteenth. We come to a meeting here, and instead of us being professional, we're carrying on in the It's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to the young people about being respected. We teach them about being respected. And we come to a meeting and we see disrupt. We see disrupt. But not only do we see disrupt, we see individuals that have an agenda. They have an agenda. And the agenda is based on what's happening in Dalton. It's about what's happening in Dalton. This has nothing to do with Georgetown.
Nevertheless, Tiffany didn't take any of this seriously and even had the opportunity to attend the special township meeting called by the trustees to receive answers. But she still didn't get the message. Vets to label the entire situation as clickbait. She's acting as if this is some kind of internet drama, but in actuality, her village's finances and future are at stake.
Took no time for this meeting to become combative, with Henyard multiple times questioning why this special meeting was called in the first place when the township was already set to meet next week. Trustees say that this was their way of getting answers.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out.
Thornton Township called a special meeting. Supervisor Tiffany Henyard called it clickbait.
But it saddens my heart that you are up here at this special meeting and not downstairs where we have big bingo.
She wanted media instead cover an event downstairs.
I'm advising you to make a U-turn and go downstairs because you come for clickbait.
The meeting happened hours after the state comptroller suspended funds to South Suburban Dalton, where Henyard is also mayor. She's being accused of mismanaging taxpayer funds there. It took no time for the township meeting to turn combative.
So why aren't you paying the staff?
The FBI is still chasing Tiffany, among other things, because she used village money for lavish parties, shell games sanctioned funding, and her own personal benefit. The story is far from done. Will Tiffany eventually face the music, or will Dalton? This concludes our discussion for now. For further updates, please let us know what you think in the comments section below. Residents will be left to clean up the remnants of her mess. Click the bell icon.